Well, good morning. I'm Pastor Les Chemist. Welcome to Cruisin' the Narrow Road. This is a channel that's dedicated to motorcycling from a Christian perspective. I'm glad you joined us today. Today we're going to talk about something just a little bit different, a little bit, a bit contradictory maybe to what this channel is all about. I want to talk to you today about 3 reasons why you should not ride a motorcycle. You say, maybe you're thinking, well, Pastor, you ride a motorcycle. Are you telling us it's wrong? Is it a sin to ride a motorcycle? Who said, where in the Bible is that? Who said it's wrong to ride? No, I didn't say that. I said 3 reasons why you should not ride a motorcycle. Let's get into it before I dig a hole that I can't get out of. What are some reasons why you shouldn't ride? I love riding. We've put on tens of thousands of kilometers in the last several years, just in this channel alone. We did one ride through Labrador, which was, by the time I did, left here, went through Labrador, down through Quebec, down through New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, ran into problems, did a lot of fooling around, back and forth. I put on about 5,500 kilometers in one trip. That's awesome. That's a great trip. So we put on a lot of kilometers. I love motorcycling. Why would I think that somebody shouldn't ride? Well, there are situations which should be considered in life of, we need to think, is motorcycling the right thing for me? The number one thing, and I think about this the older I get, is my physical condition, my mental acuity, my abilities still sharp enough to ride? And for me, yes, it is. There's no physical limitation here other than I'm getting older and fatter. No, actually, I am losing weight. That's awesome. I've lost, as of the filming of this, I think I've lost about 8 pounds, which is great. I need to lose a few more yet. But hey, that's life, right? When we get older, we tend to put on weight. But our physical condition goes down. And as we age, it's a consideration. When should I give it up? When am I too old to ride? Well, it's not a matter of age so much as is physical condition. As long as you are physically able, and as long as your mental abilities are still, and your decision making and your reaction times are still good, go for it. I know motorcyclists who are riding well up into their 80s. We have members of our Red Knights chapter that are getting onto that type of ages, and they switched from 2 wheels to 3. But hey, I wouldn't laugh at a Harley Tri-Glide. They're beautiful, beautiful setups. Harley's not my taste, but man, I can't deny they're an awesome, amazing bike. So those are considerations, but there does come a time when it might be just time to put the riding boots away and consider it just a memory. I have friends who have had physical issues. They're older, getting on. One friend of mine, dear friend of mine, who is in his 70s now, has had hip replacements and knee replacements, and it just doesn't work for him anymore. And he knew it, and he had to hang up his keys. It broke his heart, but he made the mature and right decision, the wise decision, that he was a danger to himself and by default a danger to others if he would be riding. So he had to give it up. One thing to remember is don't let pride be your guide. Our pride gets in the way, and we don't want to admit that we can't do something anymore, or don't want to admit that we've come to that point. But man, we don't let pride be your guide. Use wisdom, use your head, pray about it, man. Do the right thing. If it's time, it's time. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to give it up because you have some physical challenge. Let me encourage you, go over to a guy named Moto Giant, another moto vlogger here on YouTube. And man, he had an accident, and you can see the videos from his accident and everything. But the man lost a foot, part of his lower leg. in a motorcycle accident. And now he's working to overcome that. He's not an old man by any stretch, but he's facing that challenge head on and modified his bike and whatever to find a way to still be able to ride with a prosthetic leg. Awesome, do that. That's fine. Overcome physical challenges, but there does come a point, and we all need to recognize that when we get older, and the physical and mental abilities are just not as sharp as they used to be, that there does come a time when it is time to hang up the keys. Let's make sure that we're mature enough to make that wise decision when it comes and not let pride be our guide. What's another reason why we might not ride? Well, this might get a little controversial. And wade in the comments. You know, I'm not saying that everybody has to agree with this. But there are varying physical abilities and among the population. You know, in this day and age, we're told in school and everything growing up, you can do anything you put your mind to. Anything you want to do, you can do. I understand the sentiment. And they're trying to encourage people to go out and challenge themselves and do their best and, you know, don't give up. And awesome. I got no problem with that. But there also comes an understanding that we don't all have the same abilities. I have certain abilities that maybe you don't have. You know, God gave me this tongue and this mouth that, you know, they are meant to talk. And that's what I do for a living. I'm a preacher. God gave me those abilities. That's not for everybody. I got good friends, good people that to stand up in front of a crowd and speak, to do anything like YouTube or anything, no, wouldn't want any part of it. And it's not for them because they lack that ability. Could they hone some abilities? Sure. Could they get better than what they are? Maybe. Yes. But, man, let me illustrate it with this way. When I was in high school, I ran track and field. Was I good? No, I'm not. I was not good. Did I enjoy it? Sure. Did I try hard? Sure. Man, I remember getting out and running, you know, just in an evening for training and doing 6K, you know, just for an evening of training. And you know, you used to run cross-country running, 4-mile races, 3-mile races, you know, up and down hills, over beaches, everything. Man, we did it all. Loved running, enjoyed it. Man, it was a great character builder in my life to be part of the track team and to run. But Olympic material, I never was. You know, I wouldn't have even made a provincial team. I would have not have won a state championship if I lived in the U.S. I just didn't have that ability. No matter how hard I worked, I would never have gotten there, right? So we all have our abilities, and you know, and that's not to say if you don't have an ability to do something that you're less than somebody else. No, it's just you have what God has given you, and some people lack the coordination to be able to ride a motorcycle, to use the clutch, use the brake. At the same time, they're using their feet on one on the brake and one on the shifter. To stop one hand and put 2 feet down or 1 foot down. To shift and to. Some people lack the ability to put those things together. It doesn't make them less than anybody else. That just God hasn't given them those abilities, those skills. And so a person like that, yeah, motorcycling's probably not for them, you know. Let me just say this. If you can't pass the Motorcycle Safety Foundation course, if you can't pass a motorcycle course, you shouldn't be on the road. And motorcycling is not for you. You know, as simple as that. So it's just a matter of being realistic. It's not a matter of judgment. It's not a matter of prejudice against somebody. Motorcycling might not be your thing. That's something that you can do. And maybe with new developments, motorcycling could be for you if you didn't have to shift so much, the new DCT transmissions and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe, but maybe a three-wheeler. Maybe stick to four wheels. Whatever. There's some people that just don't have it to ride a motorcycle, and that's okay. That's okay. My wife, Rebecca, has no desire to learn to ride herself. She doesn't want to get into this. It doesn't appeal to her as far as being in control of a bike herself. You know, I got two bikes. She could learn. You know, the C50 would fit her, no problem. But she has no desire to learn that. She'd rather be on the back with me and riding with me. And you know what? I'm happy with that. As I've told you, that's a marriage thing for us. What's another reason why you might not be able to ride? A third and final reason why you shouldn't ride. This one's going to be a little different. Okay? Now we're going to tackle it from a Christian perspective. Motorcycling community is varied, to say the least. You've heard of the term 1%ers. That comes from the statement that was made that 1% of all bikers are of the outlaw variety. They're not law-abiding citizens. They live on the edge. They do the thing, right? The other 99% are, law-abiding, just enjoy riding, And that's the category I fit in. I'm a 99%er, no question about it. But in that 1% and even in the 99%, there can be elements of people that get into things that are not healthy, not good. Let's just be frank: the drugs and the booze scene, the alcoholism and drug addictions, and all those things, and they're real problems, and they're not unheard of in our community as far as motorcycle riders. Those people do exist. The people that struggle with alcoholism and drug abuse. And from a Christian perspective, when somebody gets saved, they can become born again, and the Lord saves them. The Bible says old things are passed away, behold, all things have become new. And we work with people to try and help them get past those addictions and to get victory over sin like that. And there might be other things that are connected, other sinful things that go on from the parties and from all that. The list of sin can be extremely long. But it may be that you were part of that life, that the drugs, the booze, the women, the partying, the sleeping around, all those things were part of your life. And then you came to know Christ, and then you got saved. And the Bible says you put away those things. So those things should not be part of a Christian's life. Those things should be, those things should be put away. Those shouldn't be a characteristic of a Christian life anymore. And so you need to make the break. And especially when it comes to addictions, any of it for sin's sake, but addictions especially, we think of that, you got to... when it comes to getting victory over addiction, you need to break some bonds, break some ties to that life. And for some people, it might be that riding a bike and being involved with motorcycling may be a trigger for them to get back into those things. Not everybody, but some might really struggle with that. Various people have various triggers. And riding the bike may just trigger that and tempt you to get back into that life. If that's the case, it might be a healthy decision for you to give up riding for a while, to step away from the life, to get victory, to get past the addictions and to gain some victory, to gain real victory, and to walk away from those things. Let me illustrate it by this. This is not to do with drugs, but, it was a Christian decision. A friend of mine, when he was younger, used to go to our Canadian institution coffee shop, Tim Hortons. And he used to hang out at Tim Hortons every evening, back when they had what we called the fishbowl, or the smoking room. It was a glassed off area in Tim Hortons. And a friend of mine used to sit there, and he used to smoke and have a coffee, and they would tell dirty jokes, and they would laugh. And it wasn't a healthy Christian atmosphere. Then my friend got saved. He came to know Christ. And he told me later that he said, I tried going back and, just, it was habit. That's what I did. Hung out with people and socialized, but it was the smoking that he was trying to give up. And he knew that the dirty stories and all that stuff that was going on, he knew that that wasn't God honoring. And so he made a conscious decision, not forced by any preacher. He made a conscious decision before God to abandon that particular activity. He decided that he knew himself, and he was aware of his own weaknesses and his own propensities to sin. He knew his own besetting sins, if it were, the things that were going to drag him back away from his, from living for God. And so he made the choice that he was not going to go to Tim Hortons anymore. Now, was Tim Hortons sinful? No, Tim Hortons wasn't sinful. He doesn't believe that. Does he believe that it's wrong to drink coffee? No. That has nothing to do with it. He chose to step away from hanging out at Tim Hortons. And for him to go into a Tim Hortons, and it sounds silly, but man, we all have little triggers. And he determined before God that he was just going to lay that aside in his life. Well, good for him. He wasn't preaching to anybody else, telling them they shouldn't go to Tim Hortons. He wasn't saying Tim Hortons was wrong. He was just saying, as for me, before God, I'm going to make this decision to step away because I want my life to honor God. And if I go back there, I'm going to be tempted to do things that I shouldn't do. That's an honorable decision. That's an honorable thing before God. And what I'm saying is that if your walk with God would be interfered with, would be damaged because of former life of addictions and partying and that sinful lifestyle, if the connection to that sinful lifestyle was a motorcycle, then maybe it's a consideration for you to give that up. And that might be a reason to not ride a motorcycle, because God comes first. For me, I never lived that life. And I thank God, I thank God that he kept me out of that. I could have gotten into it just as easy as anybody else. I thank God I didn't. But that doesn't make me better than anybody. That just means I didn't do it. I have other, things that I struggle with. We all do. We all have sins that we struggle with. None of us are perfect, all of it. And there are things that I avoid. What are they? I'm not telling you. But suffice it to say, I'm just like you. There are things that I should avoid. I do avoid because I want my life to honor God and not to live a sinful life. I stepped away from that stuff, and I don't want to be at those things anymore. So, this is making you think. I did this video to make you think. Are there reasons I shouldn't ride? Well, obviously physical condition and mental acuity and stuff like that. Sure, when you get older, it does come a time to hang up the keys. And that's a personal decision that you need to make when that time comes. That's an individual decision. I can't dictate that to you. And I wouldn't. That's on you. Also, there are some people that need to recognize their physical limitations, and they can't ride, and that's fine. They don't have to. They were no less of a person if they don't ride a motorcycle, and we should never put pressure on people like that. Welcome anybody into the sport that we enjoy. I will help anybody get into a course, get into learning motorcycle. I love it, but be realistic about it as well, for yourself. You know what you're able to do. And then, does your walk with God mean that you would choose God even over the motorcycle life? That's an honorable reason to give it up. If you need to give it up for God, for your life with God, Be willing to do it. Because let me tell you this, walking with God is far better than hanging on to a couple of trinkets that would drag us back into a bad life. I hope this has been a blessing to you. I hope it makes you think. Leave a comment. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you're here and you've never subscribed before, please do that. And we hope to see you again. Thanks for joining me today. May God bless you and have a great day.